and Howard and Kay.
Yeah, I
Can you see me,
tell
Pete?
you.
Todd too. I see Todd.
Okay.
So Bill's there. We have Todd. We have Rick. We have Howard. We have Brad. Tony's here.
And Kelly's
Rodney's here.
And Kelly, I heard.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you.
Is Bruce Moulter on?
I don't expect Bruce Moulter. He had a conflict.
Okay. So from the people that we expected, Kay, how are we sitting?
We're sitting well. I'm not sure if Warren's joining us or not.
Yeah, he is not. I was told by Tony he's not. So I'm running the meeting. That's why I'm going to ask this question.
Okay, so. Pete. Then we have quorum.
Okay, then I believe, and I don't have an agenda in front of me. I apologize. And I'm running from my office, running from one meeting to another. So I'll go ahead and open up tonight's special planning commission meeting. Today's date is December 16th. It is somewhere after 5 p.m. on that date, and we will go ahead and open it up. I guess we'll go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll go ahead and lead that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation
under God, indivisible, justice for all.
Okay. So, Kay, can you just call the roll so we know who's here?
I certainly will. Mr. Stewart.
Here.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Here.
Mr. Fain.
Here.
Ms. Logan. Mr. Peterson.
Here.
Mr. Moulter. Mr. Stevenson.
Here.
Mr. DeReamer.
Present.
Mr. Richards. Ms. Kelly.
Here.
And Mr. Harlan. We do have 7 members in attendance.
So we do have enough to make quorum to go ahead and conduct
We do have quorum.
tonight's business. So I believe there's only one item on the agenda. Tony, are you presenting that?
We have Jesse Boschel to present that.
Okay, thank you.
Jesse.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. For the record, Jesse Boschel with Planning and Zoning. The item before you is RZ 20-4 Grantham PUD. The site is located at the corner of 113th Street and Southeastern Parkway and consists of 118.752 acres. Property is currently zoned R2. Petitioner is seeking to rezone the property from R2 to PUD-R. The proposed Grantham PUD would consist of 2 districts, the Family District and the Executive District. The Executive would enter and exit onto 113th Street, and then the Family would have access from Southeastern Parkway and would also be connected to Welchel Springs to the west. To go over some development standards for you, just to give you an idea of how this racks up against everything else. So for R2, that is currently zoned, a lot size minimum is 15,000 square feet, which is 34% of an acre. Grantham's proposing to have an executive district would be 11,700 square feet at a minimum and 9,500 for the family district. Regarding open space, R2 requires only 10%, a PUD itself 20%, a PUD with a conservation PUD 40%, and the Grantham PUD is proposing 35%. So exceeding well above what a normal PUD would require. Buffer yards, there are none required for R2 PUD or a conservation PUD. However, Grantham is providing buffer yards between adjacent residents with nestled down farms, providing additional landscaping on those lots. Tree preservation is not required in R2 or PUD. It is required, of course, in the conservation district, but Grantham is proposing to preserve trees within the development and also along 113th Street where possible. Moving on, where you see the black circles, those are the lots that are adjacent to Nestle Down Farms. Those lots will be 100 by 200, so 20,000 square feet, so that they are more comparable to that of the Nestle Down Farms section or neighborhood. Just to give you an idea of some of the architecture here, the architecture was approved on December 2nd at our PUD committee for the executive and family district. It had received previous approval under the old application, but came back forward to make sure everything was okay with this new Grantham 2.0. So just to run through some of these for you, just so you can see the proposed. Homes in this area, for single story, the minimum's 1,800 square feet, and two-story, 2,400 square feet. The developer will be utilizing the existing gate from the Becker estate, making this a more exclusive part of the subdivision, only having, as I said earlier, a gated entry and gated exit onto 113th Street. He will also be maintaining as much of the fence as possible along this area and will be maintaining the trees. Second district is the family district. This will have a single story will start at 1,800 square feet, and second our two-story will be 2,200 square feet, just to give you an idea of some of the architecture that was approved. Comprehensive plan calls for this area to be low-density suburban residential, and that is 1 to 2 dwelling units per acre. So, and we'll get more into the dwelling units per acre thing here shortly. Just wanted to point that out to you. From our first reading at council and public comment that we have received regarding this project, just in response to building separation, it had been a question raised about that because of how close these were to each other regarding, fire code, that sort of thing. So the developer has worked with the builders of that, and the building separation will be 14 feet between the homes in the family district, and that is written in the PUD ordinance. So this section now provides for a 5-foot minimum side setback and a 14-foot building separation compared to the previous, which was a 10-foot aggregate. Another comment that was brought up at the first reading at council for this was rear yard setback, especially on the smaller lots in the family district. Questions were concerns about, will these people be able to build decks, that sort of thing. Would like to point out in the UDO, it allows for a 50% encroachment into the rear setback as long as it's no less than 5 feet from the rear property line. That can be found in section 6.13.3.A.5, just for reference. Another comment was just additional elevations for the executive district, just to offer more variety, which that was done by Mr. Rio and the builders. They were provided, and those were approved at PUD on December 2nd. We received a email late last week, early this week, from a gentleman about drainage regarding the covering of streams with development. Tony emailed plan commissioners as well as city council members about this. While those are concerns that are valid, we will be addressing those at the technical advisory committee. And this, for this stage, we are only rezoning the property, and as such, this is conceptual. And so that will be addressed at the TAC phase. And then another thing that we've been through the whole process, questions regarding number of lots and dwelling units per acre. So I did put a little math together just to share with everybody, just to give a breakdown. So, I'm not going to go through all the math, but just to give you an idea. So in total, there's buildable acreage after you take out the open space and the land needed for public improvements such as streets, that sort of thing, for an R2 for this property itself. That's 3,620,985.99 square feet. You divide that by 15,000 square feet, that's the minimum lot for R2. That's 241 lots that can be built on this property by right. So that is equal to 1.4 dwelling units per acre. Grantham is proposing 200 lots. So they will be maximizing the open space by having 41.5632 acres of open space, or 35%. And which will be equivalent when you subtract the public improvements and open space. That's 2.2 dwelling units per acre. So staff is very supportive of this project. While the Grantham PUD is denser in concept than an R2 development, it's not by much, it's only by 0.5 more. Grantham is actually provides a 41 lot reduction from what is allowed by right. So you're getting 200 lots compared to the 241. If the site was built R2, they would only be required to have 10% of the land as open space and would not have to maintain any of the trees that they are proposing or add any additional landscaping. The potential R2 development would most likely not have a trail system either, as the trail system qualifies as part of the open space that they have provided, which they have provided 2 or 3 miles worth of trail within this development, and they could come and clear cut the site and construct 241 lots rather than maintain the natural area and the park-like setting. As such, staff makes a recommendation to send RZ 20-4 with a recommendation of approval as the proposed project far exceeds the UDO minimum standards and will provide a better overall product for this area. And Steve Harden and Paul Rio are both on the line if you have any questions for the petitioner, and I would also be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Jesse. Hey, is Rodney on the phone by chance?
He is, yes, sir.
Rodney, do we need to have a motion to untable this?
No, by virtue of the fact that you're holding the hearing, we're considering it untabled. So
Very good.
That'd be a formality, but not required.
Just wanted to figure that out. So, okay, very good. Steve and Paul, do you guys want to make any comments?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Pete. This is Steve Harden. So Jesse, perfect. I was just going to ask you if you wouldn't mind just putting the site plan back up. Plan Commission members, thank you for having us here this evening. Paul Rio, the developers here with me. We'll keep our comments brief because you have seen this before. This is the same plan that you've seen before, except for the area that had the smaller lots. And Jesse, if you wouldn't mind showing your cursor kind of where that area was. If you're able to do, I don't know if you have a pointer to show. Well, if you just, are you able to keep the concept plan there and just, do you have a cursor or an arrow you can point? Yeah, so zoom, yeah, so basically that area that you see that's to the east, which is along Southeastern Parkway, following at the City Council, following the favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission, the City Council at its September council meeting, there was a motion to approve the PUD ordinance as it had come from the Plan Commission. That motion failed 4-5, so it was a 4-5 vote. The feedback we had afterwards was that perhaps it should come back by removing the smaller lot section. So that's the change. So all the things that people liked before with the maintaining the trees, the gate, the columns, the fencing, the extra large lots along Nestledown, the additional architectural standards, all of those things have stayed the same. Jesse, if you could pull back out, so we're just looking at the concept plan now as a whole. So the PUD ordinance, all the standards are the same. We have now the family and the executive sections, and we took out the small sections, small lots. And then in response to some of the other requests about could we consider increasing the side separation along the smaller lots. So that was before it was 5-foot minimum, 10-foot separation. As Jesse mentioned, that's now 5-foot minimum with a 14-foot separation. And then there was also a request, could you consider adding some additional architectural elevations, which the developer has done that as well. So it's really the same plan that had received a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission before, just with the absence of the smaller lots and the addition of the separation increase for the family section and the addition of the elevations as had been requested. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions, but we'd also request your favorable recommendation back to the City Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. I guess now I want to make, we're going to go ahead and open it for public comment. I want to make a comment for the record that any and all comments that have been received by all various means that the city made available to the general public have been shared with council members, and they are on record. So I will go ahead and open it now to any member of the public wishing to speak on this item. Please understand that you're limited to 3 minutes of time to speak about this matter. Is there anyone willing or out there who wants to make a public comment?
Pete, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, this is Doug Allman.
Hey, Doug.
Glad you can hear me. Hey, so I just want to go on record of saying that I think there's people that want to comment on this, like to have been in attendance, and I don't think this is the way to do it as far as the forum. I think that this should be put off until a latter date so that people can participate. And those are my comments. And my one further comment is that Pete, you and I have discussed this. I still think with what's needed as far as this goes through tax committee and whatnot, I don't see how they're going to save those trees down there along 113th Street, given the drainage that'll be needed, road access, road wide away. I just experienced this in front of my house where large turn lane was put in, trees are cut down, and that was for 14 homes. And this is quite a bit more many. So I don't see how it's possible to save those trees along 113th Street and be able to stick traffic into this community. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Doug. I did see there was another gentleman, I apologize, it blinked on and off my screen, who raised his hand. I think it was a Steve somebody.
Hey, Pete, it's Scott Sunderman. Can you hear me?
Oh, Scott. How are you, Scott? Yes.
I'm doing well, thank you. So just for the record, Scott Sunderman, 16928 Southeastern Parkway. I guess, confusion and frustration with the process. So I guess where to start would be that we're right back at something that was discussed, that was invested in by the city, by the taxpayers, by the planning commission, by the engineers throughout 2020. Process that they attempted to start without a neighborhood meeting until it was forced upon them. Then once they did, it was done virtually. And to Doug's point, it's a difficult way to do it for a lot of people that aren't on here tonight. Here we are again with a process that seems to be rushed and disregardful. I mean, it's just kind of outrageous that the city council votes down a plan and then it's rolled right back out in the phases that it was built to be rolled out anyway. The phase 3 on the corner is still part of the developer's plan in the future, by own admission, basically, that they'd be interested in developing that next. So it's just to present this as steps 1 and 2 of 3. It's the exact same plan. If anybody else came to the city council and was voted down for variances and things, I don't think you'd see them back the next week with the same process. I also think there's some ridiculous comments around spacing, and if our engineering and planning team are doing the math the way it's being told, that scares the hell out of me. The setbacks aren't even considered when you take an average lot size. That's not how things fit in a box with roads and a creek through the middle and waterways. We all know that. If the planning commission wanted to plot it out and show it could be plotted that way, I'd love to see it with 241 homes. I think it would be difficult with the setbacks required. So I think there's some fuzzy math there. And I think there's a lot of this fear mongering around R2. I've mentioned multiple times, why aren't we getting information on the current R2 status in Fishers? Why isn't the planning commission providing us with the last 5 years worth of R2 houses built, showing us the square footage, the values, to see if these are comparable? Because the market really determines that. So when I look at R2, I look through a few of the additions. Cambridge, Masthead, Breakwater, Valley at Geist, Woods at Geist, Barrington Estates. I mean, whoa. I mean, I would take pictures, but I couldn't get in. The mayor closed the gate when I went to Barrington, but that was developed R2. So when I continue to see this, if it's R2, they're going to bulldoze the land and tear down the fence and you can't have a gate. That's just not being honest with people. That's not what's being developed by the market in Fishers. If you look right up and down the road here, there's been multiple lots built out R2 or currently being built out. Mr. Moore, just a few lots down, has a 23-acre lot going up with a house that's R2. 2 doors down from me, I have a house that was rebuilt on the property 3 years ago. It's happening everywhere. Not one person from Fishers that doesn't have vested interest has stepped up and said this is a good idea. Someone on contract to sell their land to this, Mr. McGuire, who was a pretty reputable thing to do, got up and said he wouldn't want to see it develop this way. So I just think we need to take a step back and listen to what was already done. And when I hear Mr. Harden say that city leaders urged us to come back, I reached out for clarity on that. The only city leader I was recommended was Tony Bagato. Tony Bagato, no offense, Tony, is not an elected city leader. He's put in that role by a city leader. But if there's pressure being put down from a city leader, I'd like those city leaders to speak up. And if that's you, Mr. Peterson, since you've spent more time on this than the petitioner has talking for it, then I'd like to hear those ideas of why you're disregarding a vote by all your council members just 2 months ago and bringing it back to them. I don't think that's the way this was intended to work. So those are my views. I'll step aside now, but I just think it's been a ridiculous process, and I think exceptions are being made to something that was already stated as needing to be a state, and it was dropped down to R2. Now we're looking at making it 2/3 that size. So I just think it's a pretty ridiculous process.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Is there anybody else out there? Again, anyone else needing to make a public comment? Now would be the time. Since I don't seem to have anybody jumping up, trying to stall as much as possible, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. And I will open it up to commission members to ask a question. Any questions from any questions from the commission?
Well, Pete, if we get a chance, I'd like to get a respond too.
I guess we have no comments from our commission members.
No.
Okay. Who is that?
Did you see Roland?
Hello,
Yes, who is that?
this is Roland Schlote, if you can hear me.
Okay, Roland, unfortunately, I didn't have you come in and I've closed the public hearing.
Well, I couldn't get in. I'm having difficulties trying to do this on a phone. What a bunch of BS, man. You can't let somebody speak. That's pretty sad.
I'll go ahead and allow it, Roland. You have 3 minutes beginning now. So go ahead and name and address for the record. And
Roland Schlote, 16501, Fortville, Indiana /Fishers. There's been such a saturation of these PUDs. I could not hear half the meeting. I apologize for that, but there's all kinds of issues with this. They're trying to say, okay, I talked to, some people about the traffic, talked to Jason Taylor, and you guys have a good way of explaining traffic issues. You go out there any place off Oleo East on 96th Street, 104th and 102nd is nothing but homes all the way to Hancock County and Fortville. And you drive down the road, they're just like these. Telephone poles are 2 feet away. They haven't done anything with the roads. And all these housing developments are just stacked on top of each other. And that's all fine and dandy, but good planning has a lot to do with roads and schools. And I don't see any of that. And especially right around here, it's just bad. So there's a lot of issues with this and nobody really wants to address them. And you get people that come up there and we're not your servants. You talk to us like you good folks who are here. You can have another bite of the apple. I don't know if it takes 5, 50 or 500 people to change your mind. This is not wanted. If you lived here, you wouldn't want it either. And the longtime residents are treated very badly out here. Always have been. So there's no use in getting in all the technicalities of this proposal, and issues, ongoing concerns that the citizens have. We have really no voice except some that agree with us. And you know who they are. And so there's not much anybody can say. They don't come to the meetings because they say, they're going to do what they want. It doesn't matter what we say. So I'm not going to say any more about it. I'm opposed to it. I do want to thank Paul. He's tried to work with me. He understands my position. I understand his. So with that said, I hope that we can have this another meeting sometime. We can talk face to face.
Okay, thank you, Roland. Again, I want to go back to closing the public hearing and getting any comments from council at this point, or commission rather. Is there anybody on the commission? Can you take down the slide for me so I can see everybody? Whoever's got that slide up.
Pete, I have a question. This is Ann Kelly. I have a few questions.
Okay, Ann?
Okay, I could not understand what you said,
Hey,
separation between the executive district and the family district is my first question.
Hey, Ann,
Yeah,
where are you speaking from?
I can't hear you. What?
Where are you speaking from? Because it sounds like you're in a chamber somewhere. I mean, it's really echoing.
I'm in town hall, Pete. I'm in town hall meeting room with Tony Bagato.
Oh, okay.
Okay, is this better?
Better.
So I'd like to know what the separation is between the executive district and the family district. I didn't understand him. I don't know where they talk about where these trails, where are they connecting? Are there only 5-foot setbacks the whole way through the district? What is the lot size next to Nestledown Farm? And I would like to know how they plan to save those trees on the south side. That road is narrow. You get off that road, you're going to go right straight in the ditch and you're going to roll your car. So I don't see how they can possibly save those trees. And I live there and I drive it every day.
Okay, is that it, Ann?
Yeah, that's gonna be the problem. When you talk, it's gonna echo.
Okay, is there anybody else on commission that wants to make any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask Steve and or Paul if you want to address any of those questions from Ann Kelly or from the public comment.
Sure, this is Steve. I'll answer first, and Paul, you can maybe supplement a little bit if you'd like to. So I think Ann asked the question, what are the, well, we're hearing a lot of feedback. She asked the question, what are the setbacks in the executive district? And the setbacks there are 5 feet side setback with a 20-foot aggregate, where it's a 15-foot aggregate if there's a third car. She also asked, I think, what are the lot sizes, and the minimum lot size in the executive district is 11,700 square feet. And then there are some special rules for adjacent to Nestledown. And I'm pulling that up. Paul, jump in if you've got it memorized. I'm looking for it here.
Nestledown lots?
Yes, sir.
The lots east of Nestledown are 100 by 200 deep. They're 35% bigger than the R2 lots require. And they also have additional architectural standards of brick wraps and additional pine trees along the property line. That's along Nestledown. Those are the lots with the black dot on them on the old site plan.
Yeah, thank you. And then Paul, you want to maybe address the thought about what's the process for working with the city on the right of way and the trees along 113th Street?
Well, the city has standards for right of way acquisition. Mr. Becker's estate has a fence line and columns, stone columns all along the edge of the right of way. And the discussion with engineering was to minimize the improvements along 113th other than the axle, decel, and the drainage required. So the objective is to go out there and tag trees and save as much as a canopy along 113th Street as possible. And we believe, there's a large percentage of it that can be saved. It can't all be saved because of the entry access points, making work safely. But there's no reason that with right of ways 100 feet wide that everything has to be clear cut out of that right of way just because. So that's why we have a plan to save a number of trees along there.
And then I think Ms. Kelly also asked about what the trail connectivity will be.
Well, the site plan shows in yellow 8-foot paths and 5-foot paths and 10-foot paths. They're all denoted on the site plan. They wander through the common areas and connect both the executive and family districts together, as well as add another 1.5 miles or so of interior trails. Also, there's a requirement from the city for 10-foot asphalt path connections along our frontages, and both of those are shown on the site plan.
Thank you.
Okay, I think, Steve, if that's it, Tony, you wanted to have a chance to speak here at the end as well? Is that you, Tony? Tony?
Tony?
Yeah.
He's on mute.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Tony can hear, or Jesse, if you hear, do you know where Tony is? He asked to make sure he had a chance to speak here at the end, which I want to give him, but I also want a chance to move this meeting along.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Let's give him feedback. Let me step out of the room, sorry. So what I wanted to clarify, my involvement when the last one went through the process, afterwards I was asked if there was a change to the plan. What's the process for that going forward? And looking at the law, there is no timeline requirement of when they can or cannot come back. So in reviewing a plan that showed what R2 could look like versus their PUD that they amended, it was my recommendation that they do come back because it is a better plan. When it comes to this land is zoned R2, it's designated for residential development in the comp plan, and it's going to be developed. So it's a matter of whether or not we believe this is better than what R2 would allow by right. And staff does believe that this is better. So we were supporting of it. I just also want to add that the overall lot standards of R2 with every PUD we've approved in the 5 years I've been here has been R2 baseline. So Arbor Pines, Bridger Pines, Steeplechase, Welchel Springs, Hunter's Run, within the Britton Falls PUD, which was approved in 2006. They all use R2 as a base standard, but then their lots vary. So we feel that this is very compatible with all the developments we've seen in this area, as well as with the standards that have been done in other PUDs. So staff's been supportive of it. Again, we get more requirements from the PUD than we could by right under R2. And it's not a matter of, to me, if this property can be developed residential, it's just a matter of when. And so we just got to consider whether or not we're getting a better plan than what we would by right. And that's what we believe we are getting.
What's Tony is okay? Tony, are you good?
Yeah.
Okay, Tony's done. So again, I'm giving commission plan to speak. So I guess at this point, I will entertain a motion to provide a recommendation to city council. Do I have a motion?
I move that we advance this to city council with a favorable recommendation.
Okay, I have a motion from Bill. Do I have a second? Is everyone still on the line?
Pete, I can second it.
Okay, Todd Zimmerman, second. Kay, can you please do a roll call vote to send a favorable recommendation to city council?
Yes. Mr. Stewart,
Aye.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Aye.
Mr. Fain,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Of course.
Mr. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. DeReamer,
Nay.
and Mr. Richards did not join us, correct?
Correct.
And Ms. Kelly.
No.
I believe if I counted right, we have 7 members in attendance. It was 5-2. So essentially what happens here, we have held the statutory open public hearing. It's going to go for the city council recommendation from.
I can't hear a thing you're saying, Pete.
Whoever's running the meeting, you can look and see where the sound is coming from, and you need to mute the person that the sound's coming from. So if somebody's intentionally trying to disrupt this or whatever, you can mute those people. We need to mute them. Because there's no way to understand anything anybody's saying with that going on.
Thank you, Todd. Hey, Tony, if you're doing that, we're still getting feedback.
Who's running the meeting, the video meeting? Not Pete. I'm not talking about Pete. I'm talking about who's running the logistics here. Okay.
Apologies, we had to actually kick that person because I was not able to mute them from here.
Okay, very good. So let me restate that. We have 7 people in attendance on the commission. We had a 5-2 vote in favor of sending a favor recommendation that does not pass with the majority. So, but we did hold the statutory public hearing by law. That's been held. So it will move forward to city council with a no recommendation from planning commission. And Rodney, can you please verify that that's accurate?
You are, Pete, that is exactly correct. The other alternative, if someone wants to, since that motion failed, if someone wants to make another motion to send an unfavorable recommendation, for example, they could make that motion and you could vote on that. But barring that, if you can't get 6 votes one way or the other, it's just no recommendation.
Okay. Is there someone who wants to make an unfavorable recommendation, Brad or Ann?
No, thanks. It'd be 5-2
Okay.
again. No, I'm just wasting everybody's time.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Ann? Okay, not hearing any, so we will send a no recommendation to city council for next week's meeting. I don't believe I have anything else on the agenda, so I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting unless, Tony, you have something else. Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and adjourn tonight's special planning commission meeting. I want to thank all commission members for making themselves available tonight and appreciate your attendance. Thank you.